This video contains subject matter that may be offensive to some viewers. Discretion is advised. The content is purely the opinion of Daryl L. Gray and the OMC, Original Nan Concepts brand. The ideas and statements expressed in the video should be considered mere opinions and editorial in nature. Any resemblance to individuals' real-life experiences or circumstances is purely coincidental.
What's up, fam? It's your boy D Gray back again. I've been gone a minute. Had some family issues to take care of. We'll talk about that later. But I got a question for you. What does it mean to watch your children taken away from you and having no power to stop it? Not just fear it, not imagine it, but to actually live it. There's a verse in the Bible that describes exactly what kind of pain that is. It's a pain that's so specific, so devastating, that for many people today, it doesn't feel like something in the distant past. It feels like something very familiar right now. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32, it says, "Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eye shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hands." This is not just a verse about loss. It's a verse about helplessness, about watching something happen like right in front of you and being completely powerless to stop it. To really understand this verse, we have to step back and look at the full context of Deuteronomy chapter 28. This chapter is structured in two parts. The first part describes blessings, what would happen if the people followed the covenant, prosperity, protection, abundance, peace, all that. But the second part describes the curses, what would happen if they turned away. And these curses are very intense. They describe suffering, the displacement, oppression, loss, death, everything. Verse 32 sits right in the middle of these warnings. And what it describes is not just physical hardship, but emotional devastation. It paints a picture of parents watching their children being taken away, not knowing where they're going, not knowing if they'll ever see them again, and worst of all, having no power to intervene or to stop it. That phrase, "there shall be no might in thine hands," is very crucial. It means your strength won't matter. Your will won't matter. Your physical prowess won't matter. Your athletic ability won't matter. Your money won't matter. Your desire to protect your family will not matter. You will be forced into a position where you can't even act, even when everything in you is telling you that you should. And this idea, it doesn't stand alone in the chapter. In Deuteronomy, it says, "Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. No man shall save thee." In Deuteronomy, it describes possessions being taken, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. And in Deuteronomy, it speaks of strangers consuming the fruits of your labor. Over and over again, this theme is repeated: loss of control, loss of power, and loss of protection. Now, here's where the conversation becomes deeper and more personal for many people. For a significant number of African Americans, these descriptions don't feel abstract. They feel real, personal, and historical. During the period of slavery, which the Americans don't want to talk about anymore, right here in the States, one of the most painful realities was the systematic separation of families. Children were sold away from their parents, husbands were separated from wives, families were broken, but not by accident, but by design. And if you study accounts from that time, one theme appears again and again: the helplessness of it all. Parents could not stop their children from being taken. There was no legal system to appeal to, no authority that would intervene on their behalf, no power structure that recognized their humanity in a way that would protect them at all. They could only watch, they could only grieve, they could only endure. And for many, when they read Deuteronomy 28 and 32, they see a reflection of that experience. We still do. They see the image of children being taken and recognize something that feels painfully familiar. They see the phrase, "no might in thine hands," and connect it to historical realities where power is and was completely stripped away. Because of this, some people interpret these verses as more than just ancient history. They believe these scriptures describe not only what happened to the people of Israel long ago, but also what's happened to their descendants in more recent history. From this perspective, the parallels are not a coincidence. They are an identity. They point to multiple elements described in the chapter: captivity, forced labor, loss of heritage, oppression, and generational suffering. And they ask a powerful question. Could it be that these scriptures are talking about us? Now, it's important to approach this carefully and honestly. Not everyone agrees with this interpretation. Many biblical scholars maintain that Deuteronomy 28 is specifically about ancient Israel and the covenant established in that time. They argue that these verses should be understood within the historical and cultural context, not directly applied to modern populations. From that perspective, the similarities between text and later historical events are seen as parallels, but not proof of any kind of identity. And that's an important distinction because this conversation sits at the intersection of faith, history, and identity. And those are deeply personal areas. But regardless of where someone might stand on this interpretation, one thing is understandable and undeniable. The emotional weight of this verse is real. It forces us to confront a level of suffering that is hard to fully comprehend. To imagine longing for your children not knowing where they are. To imagine waking up every day with pain. To imagine having no power to change your situation. That kind of experience leaves marks, not just on individuals, but on generations. And this is where the conversation shifts from interpretation to impact. Because for many African Americans, engaging with scriptures like this is not just about theology, it's about reclaiming an identity. History, as it was taught, often begins with slavery for us, but people know their story didn't start there. So where does the search begin? Where did we come from? Who were we before? And what is our true identity? And in that search, many turn to the Bible. Not just as religious text, but as a historical and spiritual record that might hold answers. Verses like Deuteronomy 28 and 32 become more than words. They become points of connection, points of reflection, points of questioning, and sometimes points of awakening. Because whether or not one sees the verses as literal identity markers or powerful parallels, they still open the door to a deeper conversation. It's a conversation about suffering and resilience. It's about loss and restoration. It's about identity and purpose. And maybe that's where the real significance lies. Not just in proving who we are as a people, but in understanding what they may have gone through, our ancestors. In recognizing the depth of their experience, in honoring the reality of their history, and in asking what it means moving forward. Because identity is not just about the past, it's about the present and the future. And it's about how people see themselves and how they understand their place in the world and how they carry their story forward. So when somebody reads Deuteronomy 20 and 32 and they see their own history reflected in it, it matters, even if others interpret it differently. Because at its core, it's not just about theological debate. It's a human one. It's about people trying to understand who they are in the midst of a complex and often painful history. And perhaps the most important question isn't simply whether the scripture directly refers to African Americans. Perhaps the deeper question is this: what does it mean for people to see themselves in these words? What does it mean for a verse written thousands of years ago to resonate so strongly with modern experiences? And what does that say about the power of Scripture? Not just as a record of the past, but as something that continues to speak into the present. Because whether you view this as prophecy, history, symbolism, connection, parallel, or whatever, the conversation itself is meaningful and it invites reflection. It invites dialogue, which a lot of you don't want to embark upon. And it invites a deeper understanding, not just of Scripture, but of people. So as you think about this verse and the ideas surrounding it, consider this. What role does identity play in how we read Scripture? And how does Scripture reshape or shape the way we understand identity? That space where those two questions meet is where some of the most important conversations need to begin. And maybe that's exactly where we're meant to be at this time in our lives. I want to take this time now to honor my father. My father passed a couple of weeks ago. That's why I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I want to honor my father, Albert M. Gray. He was my idol. He was my mentor. And in a lot of ways, he was my best friend. And he's going to be sorely, sorely missed. That man was everything to me and my family. And everyone that ever knew him is lucky to know him, lucky to have known him. He was a comical genius. He was a man of very few words, but when he spoke, it drew your attention, and you needed to pay attention. And me and my family sorely miss him, and we love him, and we hope that the Most High will take mercy upon him and his soul, and that we will see him again. So with that, I say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, and we do so by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushai.